And now, it's time to drink the fire hose with your host, Nick Nutter. Hey, what's going on? It's Nick Nutter. This show's called Drink the Fire Hose because more pop culture happens in any given year than we can ever meaningfully experience in our lifetimes. So let's get as much in as we can while we still can. Just blast me with that fire hose of content, put it right in my face and just shh. Right now, we got 6 albums to review, so let's get started. Trivium. What the Dead Men Say. Until now, I've never sat through a single Trivium song, much less an entire album. They've always sounded a touch generic, and it took me until about track 4 on this thing to not feel an itch to hit skip. But once I settled in, once I was determined to give them a chance, I see why they've stayed popular going on 15 years now. The album doesn't stop for anything, and it's pretty much full speed ahead thrash for the whole runtime, which got old by about track 7, but as soon as I thought that, the song Sickness Unto You hit me with these lyrics.
I felt your heart stop beating with my own 2 hands. I felt my life lose meaning. I'll never be whole again.
That right there, that visceral connection to one of the worst parts of being human. Loss. That's what made me invested. I finally had something to say. Lyrics usually don't grab me anymore, especially in this kind of music where the instruments are usually the show, but that one jumped out. And the next song, Scattering the Ashes, continued the theme nicely. All the lyrics on this album are, at the same time, poignant and about the darkness of the modern world, but they would also be at home on any hard metal album in the last 40 years. Until I read the Genius annotations, I didn't put 2 and 2 together that these weren't just generic metal lyrics, but I guess that might put things into perspective. Bands have been singing about terrible, dark shit going on in the world and in personal life for a long time, but it used to be for shock value or an added bit of hyperbole to better illustrate the dangers of what could be coming if we don't do something. Now, everything's been on fire for years, and it feels really mundane hearing people try to be dramatic about the ashes. Maybe that's why I don't like this album as much as I wish I did? Don't get me wrong, Trivium are talented as shit, they're shredding their ass off on this one, but the songs all start to sound the same real quick. There's enough twists and turns to keep you from checking out, but there were 3 or 4 times where I came close. Not necessarily an album I'd return to a lot, but if metal was my main drug of choice, this fix would do nicely. 3.5 stars. DaBaby. Blame it on Baby.
That I was a one-hit wonder till I dropped the album, didn't it?
So, is that why he keeps putting albums out? Like, he forgot that he already released one and proved that statement, then did it again? Because this is his 3rd album in 13 months, and he has a 4th one on the way later this year. On Google Play alone, this is his 8th album since 2016. Yeah, everything before 2019 is listed on Wikipedia as a mixtape, and he didn't really come to prominence until Baby on Baby early last year, but if it's on a commercial streaming service, it's a fucking album. No one buys for a second that The Big Day was Chance the Rapper's debut, especially when they keep saying it's such a step down from Coloring Book or Acid Rap. Those were albums, they fucking count. Anyway, dude has put out so much music he's oversaturated already. Baby on Baby and Kirk were breaths of fresh air in a somewhat stale trapscape, but this one... oof. So there's a lot more auto-crooning on this, which simultaneously A, shows DaBaby continuing to try new things, B, shows he really sucks at these new things, and C, these new things make him sound just like everybody else. The first song I even liked on this project was Jump, and that was track 8. Champion had a cool whoop noise in it. It's not even a good beat, it just had a cool noise. The rest of the song is trash. Blame It on Baby is pretty cool, but you had to go and say, so fuck that. Nasty is the best song by a fucking landslide, but it's still like a 3.5. Amazing Grace sounds decent enough, and I'm finally starting to think this album might turn it around, but A, that's the last song, and B, it's only 1.5 minutes. What the fuck, baby? What is this shit? You didn't have to do any of this. Yeah, you're getting paid, but if you were a company, you're short-selling your own stock. Stop planning for your own crash, focus up, take your time, and map out your next steps. You're still incredibly hot right now, but if you keep putting out forgettable or even trash shit like this, you're gonna fuck it up. And I don't want to see that. 1.5 stars. Body Count. Carnivore. Body Count are 100% out of ideas. 2 of these songs were covers of old Ice-T songs, and one of them was a slightly subpar cover of Motorhead's Ace of Spades. But most of this was still fun, so if they stop right here, I guess we're still cool. Not much to write home about, but also not embarrassing. 3 stars. Green Day. Father of all motherfuckers. Based on everything I heard about this album, I was expecting a train wreck of epic proportions, but I actually enjoyed it. Was it lame? Yes. Was it bad? Not really. In fact, I'd go so far as to say I didn't dislike a single song, which makes me a unicorn because even the positive reviews I've seen on this say it's a mixed bag. The only disappointment I had was after it was over, I actually wanted more. And at 26 minutes, it's easy to see why. I understand why someone who's a die-hard or even a casual Green Day fan would turn their nose up at this. From note 1, this is not trying to be a Green Day record. I'd say it's not trying to not be either, but on its surface it's something else. I don't even like falsetto vocals, but the title track had me interested from the first time I heard it last year. It's got energy, it's got swagger, they commit to the bit. Fire Ready Aim is basically part 2 and it comes barreling in the same way. The songs Oh Yeah and Meet Me on the Roof, I get why people would find them insipid. There's a lot of pop on this record because it is a pop record made with rock instruments, but Oh Yeah works for me, even the Joan Jett sample, because it pulls the same trick as Hey Ya by Outkast. It has dark lyrics being masked by a would-be stadium anthem. It's about how fucked up we've let America become and the cognitive dissonance it takes just to keep living through each day. Meet Me on the Roof doesn't have that excuse. That one I know is trash, but in context of the album I find it tolerable. I Was a Teenager is also pretty trash, but in an enjoyable mid-period Weezer deep cut kind of way. Stab You in the Heart is trying to be a pissed-off version of an early Beatles song, which explains the injection of crowd noise from what sounds like that time period. Sugar Youth is the closest Green Day gets to sounding like themselves on the whole project, reminding me a little of Letterbomb from American Idiot. Junkies on a High is languid but lyrically consistent, not only continuing the themes of Oh Yeah from an adult perspective, but referring back to them. Take the Money and Crawl is about having to ignore the atrocities of wealth and power to get a paycheck, and the closer Graffitia is a study of 2 groups done wrong by power in 2 different ways. One is people who lost their livelihoods when manufacturing jobs moved out of the Rust Belt, and the other is black kids getting shot by Chicago PD. The themes on the album as a whole are kinda subtle, and if I hadn't been listening for them or reading along on Genius, I might not have picked some of them up. There's a lot of garish music to parse through, and it's distracting, but the garishness is sort of the charm in places. It doesn't always work, but I think Father of All Motherfuckers succeeds more than it fails. Give it a solid 3.25 stars. Daedalus. What wands won't break. Ah, the music of my people! I've never heard a musical act that's really reminded me of the GV Crew before, but I think I've found it in Daedalus. Lots of really fucked up noises, speaker-destroying bass, glitches everywhere, but weirdly, a kind of pretty harmonic sense to it. Beauty in strangeness. I like. Would smash with again. 4 stars. Carly Rae Jepsen. Dedicated. Side B. Late breaking news. Carly Rae Jepsen has just dropped a new album right when I was making this, so I guess we're doing this now. Full disclosure, I've never really clicked 100% with Carly Rae Jepsen's music before. I've always found something to like about it, but never much to love. I've always felt like her music is a bit too plasticky and her lyrics are a little too basic. She's able to set a mood, but I can't help but feel like it could use any metaphor at all. But with Dedicated Side B... Okay, yeah, she finally got me. This album's pretty dang good. The first song, This Love Isn't Crazy, is not really my jam, but it's not like I mind it. It's track 2, Window, where things really start to connect. It's breezy, but has a groove to it, and the next song, Felt This Way, just melts into it nice and easy. Track 4 is the biggest bump in the road, though, so we're gonna have to talk about it. Stay Away has the same lyrics as Felt This Way, but instead of a smooth, relaxing jam, it's trying to be a generic dance pop thing from about 10 years ago. It just doesn't work. If the lyrics weren't the exact same as the previous track, it might have been tolerable, but yeesh. It also has that particular style of pitched vocals I despise. You know, the kind? Yeah, that. Can't stand it, and it sounds dated. Producers need to cut that shit out. The album bounces back with track 5, This Is What They Say, and I do mean bounces. This song has a buoyant feeling that matches the walking on air ideal of falling in love she's singing about. Heartbeat slows things down, being a ballad that shows hesitancy in becoming more intimate because Carly Rae's afraid of losing control of her emotions and going overboard. It's the agony of trying to walk the tightrope of being sensible and being in love. Summer Love? This song is dope. Major in the vibe department, the production is the perfect balance of organic and airtight. There's groove to it beyond any song of hers I can remember. Next song, Fake Mona Lisa, is a really decent 80s pastiche that steers clear of cliche, which ain't easy to do with 40 years of 80s music to choose from. Let's Sort the Whole Thing Out I like because it's unabashed in its sunshiny joy. Like, it does not give a fuck about how saccharine it is. It's gonna live its truth, and I respect that. Comeback has the only feature credit on the album, with Jack Antonoff's Bleachers project joining the fray. The synthesizers are nice and full, but the chorus really goes dangerously close to sounding like Walk the Moon's One Foot in Front of the Other, like it's about to break into a commercial for a Jeep Cherokee. But it manages to restrain itself and keeps the shreds of respectability it has. That being said, it's still a solid tune. Solo has the most egregious sample of that vocal warping effect I pointed out earlier, but it's still enjoyable outside of that being the post-chorus. Now I Don't Hate California After All is one in a long line of album closers this year that just don't sound like the last song on anything. I think that's a trick to make you hit play again, and I can see it working. You feel like, that's it? Nah, fuck that, we're going again. And you want to keep the same vibes, so what's easier than just listening to the same album again? This trick only worked on me once so far, which we'll get into the next episode, but here, I was satisfied. Overall, I dug Dedicated Side B more than any other album in Carly Rae Jepsen's discography. I feel like she's trying new shit, which is something I like to hear. There were still some of the things I didn't like about her sound, but they were the least present they've ever been, so definitely a plus. 3 3/4 stars. Okay, that's all we got for now. I'ma hop back in the life raft and swim away. You do what you do, and we'll meet up again next time to tell each other what we've discovered out here in the vast. Don't give up hope, don't give up the boat, stay afloat. Take it easy.